Friends, it's been a challenging week here in our state, and in recognition of the shooting and deaths of 4 students at Oxford High School, we want to start this service just with a moment of silence and a moment of prayer. Eternal God, whose perfect kingdom, no sword is drawn but the sword of righteousness, and no strength known but the strength of love. So mightily spread abroad your spirit that all peoples may be gathered under the banner of the Prince of Peace, as children of one Father, to whom be dominion and glory now and forever. And all who agreed said, or typed, Amen. My name is Tom Mark. I'm a pastor here at Sycamore Creek, and today I am here co-hosting with my wife, Sarah. Grateful to have her with me this morning. On your tables, you will find little cards, sympathy cards. They look like this. I want to invite you to take some time to write a note of encouragement or prayer to the staff or the students or the community of Oxford. And we're going to send these to them this week. We have families here at Sycamore Creek who have personal connections with people who have been directly impacted by the shooting in Oxford. And so we want to encourage them and just the whole community with prayer this week. I'm grateful this morning to have Tim Minman with us. We were intending to start the service with a little more upbeat Christmas carol, but we decided to give you a chance to, again, just write or pray in the comments a note while Tim plays this song, Love How a Rose Bear Blooming. Let's continue in a moment of prayer. It's the season of Christmas songs. I'm curious what your favorite Christmas song is. That one's a little more obscure. At least the lyrics are, at least obscure to me. When When you heard it, you immediately recognized it, right? You knew that.
If you were ever in choir, you probably know that song.
Well, right there, that's the problem. I'm never in choir, at least of my own free will. So I think one of my favorite Christmas songs is this one is maybe not as well known. It's called Boy Package by Sarah Rose. Anybody familiar with that one? No. You're familiar with the experience though, right? Yeah, nothing makes me lose my cool like toy packaging. Ask the kids to leave the room for toy packaging. The money spent, I've worked for hours to make it. I guess it's anger management. Toy packaging. There you go. What's your favorite Christmas song for you?
Anything really, really old and preferably in Latin. I know I'm weird, but it just reminds me, of the Father's Love Begotten is a really, really old song. And if it's in Latin, it reminds me that the story began long before we got here, and it will continue long after we're gone. So call me weird, but
I'm guessing nobody else is in Latin.
In Latin.
Tim, you're a band director. So you do brass. This is like your time of year, right?
Yep.
You got a favorite one for your Christmas song?
Yeah, actually, the one I just played is my favorite Christmas song, Lo How a Rose Are Blooming.
Yeah. I think you were not your mic goes on. Give us that again.
Okay, my favorite is Lo How a Rose Are Blooming by the Confession. I've never actually looked at the lyrics to that. I should prepare, but the music is really intriguing, beautiful to me. So that's my favorite Catholic Carol.
You listen, Christmas music from a different angle, just for the instruments, probably.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to words at all. It's all about the instruments.
Yeah, Gretchen, what are people saying on Facebook?
I'm with Jingle Bell Rock.
Oh, yeah.
Angels We Have Heard, the Christmas song. So lots of choices.
Good stuff.
I think that one of my favorites is Sleigh Ride. Growing up in the band, we played it every year. And one year we didn't, and my mom called and yelled at the band director. Was like, you need to play this song.
Yeah, that's Tim's favorite kind of mom.
I'm sure it is. Band director. We did play it the next year, by the way.
All right, I'm sure. Well, hey, friends, we would love to connect with you this week, and the first way you can do that, if you do just one thing, like, share, and subscribe this, that's a great way to get the word out. But we'd also love to connect with you. Fill out our digital connection card, sycamorecreekchurch.org/connect. Or if you are in the room, you'll find them right there on your tables or your seats. Pick those up, fill them out, put them in the blue buckets. We want to connect with you, and we think you want to connect with us, or you wouldn't be here engaged with us today. Lots of other ways you can connect with us through prayers or texts. But if you fill that out, the digital connection card, for the first time, you will get a free book. You'll get Through This by Max Lucado. Somebody needs to get through something this holiday season and probably could use that book. So if, and who knows what we have yet coming up that we're going to need to get through. So fill that connection card out, connect with us, and we'll send you that free book. We would love to connect as well through a selfie. Take a selfie at home. In fact, we're encouraging you through the season to take pictures of you at your Christmas decorations in front of your tree. Tag it SECMI so we can see it and celebrate with you. It's a little hard to see each other right now, so that's a way that we can connect with each other. And this week's selfie of the week is Jim and Katie Ashman. Look at that, doing the gingerbread house. Super cute.
Yeah, so cute.
This was like our most effective selfie campaign ever, with a number of gingerbread house selfies.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Gingerbread house party is what it was.
It was. So the next day, my news feed was full of gingerbread house pictures. Super
Amazing.
cool. Thank you all.
It was fun.
Thank you, Jim and Katie, for sharing that little bit of celebration with us. We love seeing it. So we got. Anybody want to hear Tim Newman on the trumpet?
Yeah.
Woo woo.
Yeah. Tim's gonna play for us "Angels We Have Heard on High."
As you know, Tom, I love to go on long hikes.
Really long hikes.
Really long hikes. And recently I ran into a guy who was just incredulous about how much water I carry on these long hikes.
You gotta carry
a ton of water.
Yeah.
So I drink a lot. And he was like, man, you need to get one of these super ultra lightweight water filters so that you can refill your water as you go rather than carrying all that heavy water with you.
You carry all the water
All
from
the water,
get-go.
like a gallon or two.
You don't bring a filter with you?
No, I don't.
That's a lot of, that is, I'm incredulous too. I mean, as a person who, another person who loves the outdoors, I mean, look at that picture right there, Mark. Like, you see what that is in the bottom
blue thing
there?
right there?
Yeah, what's that blue thing, Mark?
Is that a water filter?
That's a water filter.
Okay. I guess I need one. Maybe I'll get one for Christmas if my family's watching this, maybe.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. Yeah.
Hold on, aren't we supposed to be talking about getting rid of stuff today, not accumulating?
We'll get there.
Okay, we will get there, yeah. So we're talking about, through the next several weeks at Christmas time, letting go of some stuff, letting go of the stuff that weighs us down, all the stuff that we carry along with us, so that we can be free to live a different kind of life, an abundant life that God has for us this Christmas.
Yeah, so we hope over the next several weeks, Tom, that we're going to become more aware that as we travel through life, well, it's amazing how much of the wrong kind of stuff we can accumulate.
Yeah.
We can accumulate hurts, we can accumulate junk, we can accumulate discontentment that just builds and grows over time and holds us back, leads to all sorts of problems.
Yeah. So today we're starting this new series called Travel Light, where we're going to talk about reducing stuff, literally stuff in our lives today.
Yes. And over the next several weeks, we'll talk about letting go of distractions. We'll talk about letting go of bitterness. We'll talk about letting go of control. And I'll be preaching to myself that week for sure.
And today we're talking about letting go of literal stuff. Like we all have too much stuff, literally, like things, and that's weighing us down. So here's the key thought for today. It's better to have less of what doesn't matter and more of what does matter. Say that aloud with me. It's better to have less of what doesn't matter and more of what does matter.
The problem is that our culture screams everything that's the opposite of that statement. And the roots of this problem, well, they go way back. They go all the way back to the beginning of the Bible, all the way back to the first book of the Bible, the story of Genesis, where we have the creation of human beings. And God creates Adam, and Adam is good, but sees that he's alone. It's not good. Adam can't find anything in the refrigerator, and so God creates Eve, and they're this perfect partnership with each other, and they glorify God together.
Did God create Eve to fill the refrigerator?
No, it's because the man can't get by on his own.
So Adam and Eve live in this paradise, and they have everything that they could ever want, except for this one tree. There's one tree that they're not supposed to have. And the serpent comes along and says, listen, did God really say you can't have this one thing? And it's in that very moment that we have the seed of this impulse of accumulation, that what we don't have is what we want.
Yeah, what we have never seems to be enough. You may have blessings from God, but what you don't have, well, that's what you need, right? What you don't have is what you need to be happy. That's what you don't have is what you need to be fulfilled. What you don't have, well, that's what you need to be complete. And I didn't learn this from my parents, but I definitely learned it from the culture around me. More is always better.
Oh yeah, if $1 is good, then $2 is better. If one vacation is good, then 2 vacations is better. If one car is good, then 2 cars is better. And if one computer monitor is good, then 2 is better, and
3 is absolutely the best.
3 is the best, huh? Sometimes, though, more is not always better. Have you ever had an experience with that, Tom?
Yeah, when Sarah and I moved from Petoskey to Durham, North Carolina to go attend seminary, we kept our house in Petoskey because we were renting it out to somebody. And then when we moved here to Lansing, we were living the dream. We had 2 houses. We had the downstate house, the parsonage here that the church owns that we live in, and we had our house up north in Petoskey, a resort community. It was awesome, except that it wasn't, because it was super stressful to take care of 2 houses, to have our attention split between 2 different places. And when I'd go up there on vacation, I'd look at the house and I'd see all the things that needed to get done, and I had to manage these 2 different spaces, and it ended up just being more stress than we wanted. So we sold the house, our stress went down, and our financial margin greatly expanded.
More is not always better.
No, it's not. So we have a question for you. Where have you experienced that more is not always better? Let's talk about that.
So, Sarah, you were part of that experience with our 2 houses. Do you want to say more about that, or do you want to
I'm just so glad
answer
that-
this question in
that
some
it's
other
over.
way?
Down to 1.
1 was
Yeah,
enough.
1 was enough. 1
Yeah.
was enough. I have just a really silly example of
Go for it.
when, more is not always better. If anyone's ever eaten at Zaytoons and had the garlic
yes.
sauce,
I love it.
a little bit of the
So
garlic
good.
sauce is great.
It goes
but
a long way.
A lot of the garlic sauce could kill like an entire family of vampires. It's just, it's like, why?
That might be the intention.
It's a lot.
It's so
That reminds me of when we had our friends over and I
Yes.
made sushi for him, and he thought, oh, a little bit of wasabi's good, so a lot must. He
Why
put
don't
like
I
a
just dump some
tablespoon
more
on
wasabi
one
here?
piece of
Don't do
sushi and
it.
popped it in his mouth.
Well,
Regret.
as he's popping in his mouth, we're all like slow motion, like,
About 5 seconds later, he was running to the bathroom.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tim, how about you? When has more not always been better?
So when I take a nap, if it can be like a 10-minute nap, that's great. I'm refreshed, ready to go. But then if I'm like, you know what, I think I'm just gonna keep napping a little longer, and then like 2 hours goes by, the rest of the day I just might as well not got out of bed. I'm a wreck. So
Yeah.
a little nap, good. A lot of nap, not so good for
So
me.
true.
That's really
so
true.
true.
I call that the post-nap grumpies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you go past that, whatever that magic number is, 10, 20 minutes.
Just go to bed.
Forget
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Fine.
true.
So
and then you
true.
can't fall asleep at night.
Kristen
So-
Kreck, has my favorite answer so far on Facebook.
yeah?
She says Legos, screen time, and cocktails.
I mean, she's not wrong.
About any of them, really.
No.
The trinity of parenting.
Yeah.
What was it? Legos, screen time, and cocktails.
Yep.
I mean, I'm going to go with coffee here because you ever drink, or just caffeine in general, you just drink too much and you're just
Yeah.
like, okay, now I'm just sad but faster.
Yes.
I think this is like a continual challenge for parents with at least young children. I don't know if it gets any better in the teenage years, but we just have tons of toys,
And
the amount of
clothes.
stuff
And
that we
clothes.
have
And
accumulated since
toys.
having children has just exploded.
I was just telling Carola, like, I feel like if I have more clothes, that I don't have to do laundry as often.
Then you have to do more
But then when
folding.
you do the laundry, there's like an insane amount, and then I'm like, this sucks.
And where do you put it all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You stuff them in the drawers.
Yeah. So we're trying to travel a little lighter through this season and let go of some stuff. And let's go back to me and Mark in our living room, see where we take it.
With all our stuff.
More is not always better, Tom. And Solomon, the wisest person in the Bible, said in Ecclesiastes, better is one handful with tranquility than 2 handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind.
Solomon says that it's better to have just 1 handful, literally, than having 2 handfuls, like 1 handful with peace and joy and comfort and tranquility than 2 handfuls with a bunch of stuff. 2 monitors, 3 monitors, 2 cars, 2 houses, more stuff, which this brings us back to the whole point of today's message. It's better to have less of what doesn't matter and more of what does matter.
This is so important because your life is valuable. Your life matters. You have a purpose. You have a calling from God. And God doesn't want to waste your life on stuff that doesn't really matter.
Jesus actually warned us about this too. In Luke chapter 12, he says, "Watch out! Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions." Like Jesus, like there's exclamation marks here. Watch out! Be on guard. I mean, this is like Jesus has this really important intensity of his message. Is pay attention to this. This is really important stuff.
I think of like yelling at my kids when they're about to run on the road. Like there's danger ahead.
This is like something you say to somebody who's about to be in serious physical danger, except Jesus isn't saying that about physical danger. There's like a danger to our soul here. Watch out, be on guard for greed that is a danger to your soul.
My life does not consist of the abundance of my stuff.
Our culture tells us the exact opposite. That you are what you drive, you are what you wear, you are how many Christmas presents you get and give at Christmas. But you aren't what you own. You aren't the stuff that you have.
The lie we've bought into is that what you don't have is what you need to be happy, to be fulfilled, to be content in life. What you don't have is what you need to be cool. What you don't have is what you need to fit in. What you don't have is what you need to really have a life to the full, to be significant, to be important, to be popular.
Yeah, so here's a question we want to ask today. What if the desire for stuff is robbing me from the life that I want?
Solomon, again, the wisest person ever, says, better 1 handful with tranquility than 2 handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. And this is the perfect time to talk about this because our Christmas shopping is in full swing. Maybe you already got an early start on Christmas shopping because you were worried about supply chain issues this year and whether the stuff you want to buy is available or not. But today we want to think and act differently when it comes to our stuff. We want a better way that leads to life to the full. It's better to have less of what doesn't matter and more of what does matter.
Yeah. So Mark, what we want to do today is give people some tips, 3 tips for what we're calling 1 handful living. 1 handful with peace and joy and tranquility rather than 2 handfuls with stuff and accumulation. So are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, here's the first one. Throw out. Throw it out. Mark, when we look at the stuff that most of us have, it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Like, it is filling up our closets to overflowing. It's packed in our garage. We can't even put our car in the garage anymore. We're renting space outside our house to keep our stuff. This is just crazy. We need people to throw away like your life depended on it. And actually, some of us, this has gone like, it's pathological. We're into the hoarding, and your life literally depends on it. But most of us, we've got to think about this as if our life depended on it, because our stuff is ruling us.
This goes way beyond decluttering. This is de-owning some of the stuff that we have. I would argue all day long that owning less is better than organizing more.
Yeah.
Owning less is better than organizing more.
Absolutely.
Your life does not consist of your stuff.
So there's this guy in the New Testament that Jesus comes across, and he's a guy of goodwill. He comes to Jesus, and Jesus actually is impressed and has a genuine love for him. And the guy says, well, what do I need to do to inherit the kingdom of God? And Jesus says, well, what does the Bible say? And he says, well, love God with everything you've got and love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus says, you've answered correctly. And he says, well, what else do I need to do? And Jesus says, well, if you want to be perfect, then sell all your stuff and give it to the poor and follow me. And it's interesting that Jesus is saying, like, if you want to have perfect love, if you want your love to be perfected, then this is what you need to do. And I think what ends up happening, this is what's so sad, this guy has so much stuff that it ends up owning him rather than the other way around. And he walks away from Jesus at that point. He thinks more of what doesn't matter is what's going to make his life joyful rather than more of what does matter.
Yeah, the young man is so into his stuff that that story concludes in Matthew. When the young man heard this, what Jesus said, he went away sad because he had great wealth.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I think it's helpful to kind of take a moment to pause here, because it could sound like we're all about like not doing anything, gift giving, not accumulating anything at Christmas. And that's not what we're trying to say right now.
Yeah.
Those are all good. God's a generous God. We give gifts at Christmas because we've been given the greatest gift in Jesus. And those can all be good things, but they're not good things when your stuff ends up owning you. When you end up having to have something to find joy in life. That's what we're trying to talk or speak against right now. That's what we're trying to warn people from giving into the accumulation of stuff that it owns you, it owns your soul.
Yeah, there's a void that each of us has within us, and one of the temptations we all face is to fill that void with stuff. And there's no amount of stuff that will fill that void. It's a spiritual void, and the only thing that can fill it is the goodness of God and God's grace.
Yeah. So why do we hold on to that stuff so much? What is it that keeps us from letting go of it, Mark?
Well, I think there are two reasons, at least two reasons, probably more, why we don't get rid of stuff. And the first reason, I think, is fear.
Okay.
Fear. We're afraid that we might need an item in the future. And this is sort of a scarcity mindset. I think it's something that we all wrestle with. It's not really a bad impulse to save something for a later date. So, we think, well, I might need this someday.
Yeah.
Or, somewhere down the road, this could be useful. And the problem with that is really what it's showing is a lack of trust in God. Now, I'm not talking about the stuff that we regularly need, like the really essential parts of life, but the thing that we set aside, well, maybe I'll need it later. We're not trusting God in that moment, that when that later time comes, that God will provide a way for us to have that thing. And so we give in to fear and we hang on to our stuff instead of letting go of our stuff.
Yeah. So hanging on to stuff because of fear, that's convicting, Mark. What's the other reason that we tend to hang on to our stuff?
Well, another reason that we don't let go of stuff or get rid of stuff is sentiment. In other words, this is my first award when I was 4 years old. I got to hang on to it.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Exactly. This is my kids' first artwork that they did when they were in preschool, and then this is their artwork in kindergarten. And this is the 17th picture that they did when they were in 5th grade.
Picasso.
Got to hang on to this. Yes. Here's every single report card ever. We hang on to every single one, and the problem here is that
geniuses.
We take an object and we equate it with a person that we know or that we care about. And I think it's really helpful here, some of the advice from Marie Kondo. This comes from The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. She says that when it comes to a sentimental object, thank God for that object.
Yeah.
Thank God for that person and how it reminds you of them, and then release it to someone else. Release it to someone else. So it could be that you take that award that you won in 1st grade and you thank God for it, and then you release it to the garbage man so that the garbage man can be blessed by it.
Okay. I wondered when Marie Kondo was going to come up. She's like the queen of this getting rid of space, right?
Yeah, well, sometimes we need help to get rid of, to let go of our stuff.
Several years ago when we were doing a message similar to this, I was working through this myself, and in my closet were the shoes that I got married in, and I hadn't worn them in a decade and a half. They're just gathering dust. So I brought them in for the message. I said, hey, these are the shoes I got married in. I'm ready to let them go. If you would like these shoes, I want to bless you with them today. Somebody came up afterwards, handed them the shoes. I got rid of something that I was hanging on to because of sentiment, and I blessed somebody else with those pair of shoes that they liked. I really like this idea of thanking God for something and then giving it away to bless somebody else. It's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
I think that's so important for not letting stuff weigh us down. Remember, it's important to have less of what doesn't matter and more of what does matter. Or as Solomon says, better one handful of tranquility and two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. So we get there by throwing stuff out, and that's the first step, getting rid of some stuff. Stop holding on to it. So here's a chat question we want to ask you today. What's more likely to prevent you from throwing out, fear or sentiment? Let's talk about that.
I know a lot of times I come across as really intense and very heady, but I'm actually a big sop in sentimental heart. And when our youngest, when we threw his binky out into the trash, we threw it literally in the trash can outside by the curb. And he was there with us, and he saw it go in there.
It's like a ritual.
Bye-bye, Binky.
Yes.
Bye-bye, Binky.
Bye-bye, Binky.
Yeah, and then we walked inside, and he never saw it again. But what he didn't see was I went out and got it.
No.
That's so
Not
in the trash.
to give it back to him, but it's in my memories drawer.
No.
So I'm still holding on to his binky.
I did not know this, and then at one
trash
point I opened
Binky.
his drawer and I
I
was like,
cleaned
"What
it
is
off, Carola. It wasn't full of maggots or something.
But still gross. Still.
that?" He washed it.
Yeah.
Washed it.
Yeah. How about you?
Oh, I'm the opposite of you. I keep stuff because of fear, and I think it's because I was raised by people who were raised by people that went through the Great Depression, and you did not. I mean, you were gonna maybe need this, right? Whatever it was, and now my parents are trying to get rid of things, and start I'm like, you can release it, but it's really hard when you've been.
Yeah.
You might need it. You might need it.
This all comes to really rubber meets the road when your parents end this season of life and you as the child
downsizing.
are managing their stuff.
That's actually one of the reasons that my mom downsized massively, because when my grandma passed, she had several storage units full of things.
Yeah. It's a lot.
And they had to spend almost an entire year going through it all.
Yeah.
And she was like, this was so heartbreaking and difficult. I'm just going to not have things.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's
Sounds like
good.
your grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandma, as she was getting older, she just would put stuff out on her table, and anytime we came over, she said, you can have any of this. And by the time she died, she had one dresser full of stuff.
Yeah.
And that was it.
And what a gift for your family to remember you, but not have to go through all of your things.
Tim, fear or sentiment, which one's more motivating to you?
So the sentiment is what holds on to stuff, but fear does overrule in one area. That's the furniture you buy from IKEA, and you have all the bags of the parts, and there's 3 little extra things.
Oh, yes.
My garage is full of little bags of the IKEA parts that I'll probably never use, but I'm so afraid that something's going to break and I need it.
that's so accurate.
They're all piling up in the garage.
The good news is you can always order a replacement part, right?
But can you?
You would think. This is going to be something that haunts our generation and
They're
younger
going to
forever.
discontinue that thing, and you're going to need the extra part.
You never know.
Yeah. I think I have both. Sometimes it's fear that, I might need this. I can't tell you how many times I told Star when she was helping me go through stuff, but I could use that for something. And then also the sentiment I think I have, so.
You're a double-edged sword when it
it's a
comes to getting rid
problem.
of stuff.
No, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this message, this next part is especially speaking to you, Gretchen.
All right.
Here we go.
I'll
Back to
listen.
me and Mark in our living room full of stuff.
So Tom, the first way of one handful living is to throw out. We're not going to give in to fear and sentiment. What's the second way?
Yeah, so the second thing we're going to do is we're going to buy less. Get rid of
That's a
some
good
stuff
idea.
we have, and we're going to stop the pipeline into
Buy
our
less.
house. Probably would have been good to talk about this months ago, because Black Friday is past, Cyber Monday
is past.
All the craziness of that weekend, which doesn't feel quite as crazy as it used to be, but it's still crazy. There's a reason why it's called retail therapy. You know, there's something satisfying about buying something, at least in the short term. You get a sort of quick hit, like a serotonin hit in your brain. You feel like you're in control of something. You have this physical thing that you can hold, but none of that lasts. It comes and it goes. It's here and it's gone. And it breeds in us this appetite that what we don't have is what we need to be satisfied, to be happy, to be joyful, to be whoever it is we think we need to be.
I love what the psalmist says in Psalm 119. We're going back to Psalm 119.
Yeah.
We just finished this series on that, but there's so much good stuff there. And the psalmist says in Psalm 119 about this temptation, turn my heart toward your statutes and not toward selfish gain. Turn my eyes away from worthless things. Preserve my life according to your word. I love how here the psalmist envisions this life where we're so full of the goodness of God, we're so filled with God's presence that we're not as tempted to go and buy more stuff. Mm-hmm. We don't need things to define who we are because Jesus has already defined who we are.
Yeah. So one of the ways we've tried to live this out as a family is to choose experiences over stuff, experiences together in particular over...
I love that phrase, experiences over stuff.
Yeah. And I remember one of the times we first did this, it was Christmas, several Christmases ago, where we gave the boys the option. They could have a gift for Christmas, a thing, or they could go skiing with me and Mom. And Micah chose the skiing, and Sam chose the stuff. And on the morning that Micah and I were leaving to go skiing, Sam was in tears. And through this, like, all of his slobber and crying, he choked out, "Will I ever get to choose again?"
That's a good question.
Yeah, next year you'll get to choose again. So next Christmas comes around, we say, do you want to go skiing with the family or do you want stuff? And both of them chose skiing with the family. So we went as a family. It was great. And we actually, because this is up north where Sarah's parents live, there's thrift stores that have used ski equipment. We bought a full set of gear for everybody for like $20. It was crazy how cheap it was. We went to Boyne Highlands where the bunny hill is free. So we spent maybe $50 for the day for our whole family to go skiing.
For an experience that you won't forget.
Yeah. And I thought when I was asking Sam if it was okay to tell this story that he wouldn't even remember what the gift was that first year. He surprised me. He actually did remember the gift.
Still remembered it?
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, you know, I think their little brains have less to remember than ours do. But I didn't remember it. And yet he still was glad that he's continued to choose
the
experience, the time with family, the new skill over the thing. He doesn't have any regrets over making that change. How about you, Mark? Do you guys have a similar story like that?
Well, speaking of experiences over things, I asked my kids, Drew and Kate, I said, what has been a highlight of our family over the past year? Mm-hmm. And both of them immediately went to our vacation this past summer to the Porcupine Mountains.
Yeah.
And to the experiences that we had on that trip. So they immediately talked about how we went cliff jumping off of cliffs at Black Rocks into Lake Superior.
Whoa.
They talked about how we went to an old copper mine and we rappelled down a mine shaft.
That's intense.
Those are kind of the intense things. But they also talked about like hiking in the Porkies and sitting at our cabin together at night and playing euchre as a family. And even the simple stuff like just driving in the car on the way up there and back were memories that they shared. Those were all experiences and not stuff.
Yeah. So good.
That leads us to ask of all of you this question for discussion. When have you valued experiences over stuff? Let's discuss that.
You remember that Christmas when
Totally.
Sam just fell apart.
Yeah, I don't remember his gift though. Either.
It was really hard, like as a parent, to not say, "All right, you can come," but there was an important lesson that he and we all needed to learn about that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Tim, is there a way that you valued experiences over stuff?
Yeah, and this idea of gift giving, Jen and I have not given each other gifts probably ever since we've been married. We go on vacation, that's our thing.
Okay.
So we've always had the tradition of never getting any gifts. It takes a lot of pressure off of each other, of that stress of finding something. The way we love each other is to spend time together, not by getting each. I know everybody's different, but that's how we do it.
So do you share the planning of the vacations?
Okay, so that could be a whole different time. One time I tried to plan vacation, and we just decided like that wasn't fun for me, and it wasn't fun for her to not plan it. So now I just enjoy the ride.
Playing to their
Jen
strengths.
enjoys planning the
So
trip.
the gift you give her is giving you a vacation.
Exactly.
Well, and you guys bought my parents' little camper.
We did. We absolutely love the camp.
It's so
and
cute.
do that
It's
multiple
so
times
cool.
a year. Yeah.
Yeah. Sarah, how about you?
Yeah, well, that would have been my example, the story of Sam. But I do have a story of a student that was part of Sycamore Creek when we did a summer activity. And I remember there was a whole bunch of us that went up to the Big Ticket Festival. And I know the whole region really well, so I took us down to the beach at the state park in Petoskey. And we were skipping stones. And there's this kid who's like always on his phone. Like he was never not on his phone. And in that moment, he had it in his back pocket, and he was chucking stones in the water, and like all of a sudden he threw his hands out like this, and he said, "I feel so real."
Oh.
And I thought this experience for him is the best gift of this trip.
Yeah.
And putting that phone in his pocket,
That's
getting
beautiful.
that thing put away.
Yeah. That reminds me of I forget always whether it's Ignatius or Irenaeus who says that the glory of God is a human being fully alive. Fully
Irenaeus.
alive. Yeah. Not the glory of God is a human being with as much stuff as they can accumulate.
We do a lot of lessons, gifts, or like crafts gifts. Mainly, like this has been my goal every time Talia has a birthday. It's like sponsor her for gymnastics, pay for dance, take her to karate. We've gotten lots of zoos, hands-on museum passes, and that's what they love. They love going, and they love the ability to go, just to say, hey, let's drop everything and go to the museum.
Yeah. Grandparents hear that. Hear that,
Yes.
grandparents.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
It's-
experiences over stuff for our kids.
It is a joy.
Yeah.
Dwayne Dietrich said, experiences build memories. Memories don't take up much space to keep. Perfect gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right. Well, hey, let's get back to Mark and I in our living room.
So, Mark, we're going to throw stuff out, like our life depended on it.
Getting rid of stuff.
Because on the other side of that is freedom, there's joy, there's time for relationships. So then we're going to buy less. We're going to accumulate less stuff. What we're going to accumulate, rather, are experiences, memories, relationships.
Time with the people we care about.
Yeah, with the people we love.
And then finally, in order to have one handful living, the life that really matters, we're going to give more. Give more. Paul told Timothy in his letter, 1 Timothy, "Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment."
So Paul's talking to Timothy, and he says, command those who are rich. And most of us gloss right over that.
I do myself,
We don't consider ourselves as people who are rich, but let's pause on that for a minute. Let's ask the question of who is rich. I think most of us would say, well, I know somebody over there who's rich. Those people I see on TV,
that person.
Those people, they're rich, but I'm not rich.
Not me. That's a good point, Tom. And to put this in a global perspective, it's helpful to think that if you drive somewhere today, you are in the top 5 to 7% of people in the world.
Wow. If you eat 3 meals a day, or if you have the option to eat 3 meals a day, then you're in the top 40% of the global population.
Wow.
let's face it, we're rich.
We're rich.
We are rich. Paul is talking about us, about you, about me, in all likelihood, 99% of the people who are watching this right now.
So this verse is written to us, and Paul writes to Timothy, command those who are rich.
That's us.
In this present world, not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put our hope in...
In what?
To put our hope in God.
Who does what?
Who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. God provides us with everything for our enjoyment. I love that point. We don't need to feel guilty about being blessed. We don't need to feel guilty about the blessings that God has given us. God has provided those things richly for our enjoyment. So we don't have to feel guilty if we have nice stuff. We just don't let that nice stuff own us.
Notice that Paul doesn't tell Timothy to buy more stuff, to add clear labels on your Rubbermaid panels, to declutter that closet, or add some more stuff to your garage, or go out and buy some storage so that you can get that stuff out of your living room and into the storage unit. I mean, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't say, click the buy now button, and click it again, and click it again. Like, these are just, don't accumulate stuff, is what Paul's saying here. This is actually what he says. Command them. That's strong language to Timothy. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way, they will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life.
Your life does not consist in the abundance of your stuff. When you are living as a blessing to others, you're going to be blessed yourself. And that's a life that's truly life. It's less of what doesn't matter, and it's more of what does matter.
There's some great gifts that you could receive at Christmas. I mean, I would love to have a big, new, nice 4-person tent.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Heck, let's go big. Let's get a tent like this.
There we go.
That's glamping, I think, more than camping.
Yes, that's pretty fancy.
My guess is, Mark, that you got your eye on some hiking equipment.
Yeah, like maybe a new water filter.
Maybe a water filter. Cut down on the weight of that water.
Yes.
But getting stuff stories, those aren't the stories that tug at your heart. They're not the emotional stories. I mean, I got some dry sacks recently for canoeing, and it was nice. Kept my stuff dry.
Dry sacks.
But I haven't cried about it.
No, I don't think anyone would.
The stuff that we get isn't what makes Christmas Christmas.
It's not. There are keeping stuff stories, but those aren't the emotional stories. We don't say, oh, it's so meaningful. I was going to give to Sycamore Creek's Christmas offering this year, but I decided not to do that. You know, instead, I took my whole family and we went out to Applebee's for a meal. We fancy like Applebee's on a date night. I'm so glad that I spent that money on myself. Well, that's not, we don't say that. We don't say things like, well, I got an extra refrigerator and now I have this extra refrigerator, and, you know, I know that there's this single mom who could use a refrigerator, but, you know, we took that refrigerator and we put it in our garage so we'd have a beverage refrigerator, and half the time we forget about it. Those aren't inspiring stories. Those aren't amazing emotional stories. They aren't touch your heart stories.
So do you have a touch your heart story?
I just heard one recently at Thanksgiving, at our Thanksgiving meal. My brother and sister-in-law were sharing a story where they decided they wanted to help out one of their neighbors. And so they went around their house and they just collected every bit of cash they could find. They emptied out their wallets, they looked through drawers, like they got as much money together as they could get, and they put it in an envelope and sealed it, and they went over to their neighbor's house. And as they were handing the envelope to their neighbor, and the neighbor was saying, thank you so much, the neighbor was talking about how much they were short that month. And without knowing it, that was the exact amount in the envelope.
Wow.
They hadn't, like you know, it wasn't an amount rounded to the nearest $5 or $10 or whatever. It was just literally any money they had, and it was the exact amount that that person needed. That's a touch your heart story.
Yeah.
The keeping stuff stories, they don't do it.
So giving changes the receiver
Yeah.
And it changes the giver as well.
It changes the giver.
Yeah, both of those. Both get blessed in the process. And what we try to do every Christmas is give people the opportunity to experience that through our annual Christmas offering challenge. The annual Christmas offering goes towards three things: our compassion missions, our local missions, and our global missions.
And each year we give you a challenge along with that offering, and the challenge is this: it's to give away as much as you spend on Christmas.
Wow. Whoa, that's a big challenge, Mark. How exactly does that work for people?
Well, it is a big challenge. And so the challenge is to take whatever you would spend on Christmas presents, on parties, on traveling, on all the things that go along with Christmas, and to give away that same amount. Now, some people can do that. They can just increase their Christmas budget and do that accordingly. But for most of us, if we're going to live into that challenge, we're going to have to back off a little bit on how much we spend on Christmas so that we can give a little bit more this Christmas.
So people can give to the Christmas offering through December and even into 2022. In fact, there's some people who set up recurring gifts throughout the whole year. Just every month there's a little bit that they give towards this Christmas offering.
That's such a cool idea.
That really
cool way to
impresses
do
me.
it.
But people can give with the special Christmas offering envelope, can give through our app, through our website, set up a bill pay through your online bank. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this, but whatever it is, take intentional time to reflect on how you can live into that challenge. And it may take a couple years to on-ramp this challenge for you, but when you get there, these are the kind of stories that they're the emotional stories, they're the soul stories.
Yes, they are.
So we have a question for you. How much of a challenge is the Christmas offering challenge to you and your family? Let's talk about that.
So we tend not to go too all out on Christmas. We tend to go out more on birthdays. So it hasn't been too hard for us personally as a family to just double our Christmas spending and to be able to give to the church. Although this year we just found out that we both got each other family secret gifts that we didn't know about. So I guess I don't know. You know, this is where it will be.
Oh, the counter goes up.
Oh yeah.
It goes up.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's meet that challenge.
But we've always invited our family to join us in this, and so our parents, instead of giving us gifts, to give a gift to the Christmas offering. So it's we don't need more stuff. Help us. Yeah.
Right. Well, and I think part of what I guess how much of a challenge it is, it's less and less of a challenge as I see what our church does with the money every year. Everything that comes in for the Christmas Eve offering is given away to the community, to needs around the country, and in our mission, supporting a mission in Nicaragua that reaches out to children down there and helps feed them and provides medications and things. So that to me offsets any kind of I don't know, it makes it less of a challenge to know. So last year, we have a big connection with a local public school, not just Mount Hope SEAM, but also Holt Public Schools. We just have a ton of educators and families involved in Holt. And those teachers were getting calls from parents saying, I'm about to be evicted. What do I do? And they were reaching out to me, the teacher, saying, what? And I just sent them to Pastor Tom Fox, and he made sure that those families were not kicked out of their homes before Christmas. And that makes it less of a challenge when I know that there are far bigger challenges people are facing out there that we can help.
Yep. How about in the Newman household? How big of a challenge is this Christmas challenge?
Well, I'd say it's a challenge. One thing I would highlight in the message I heard was about the systemizing it so it's throughout the year. So kind of like the vacations, Jen pretty much plans all the gifts, so I might need to be a little more active in that role in our house to be more part of it. But then she's really good about getting stuff throughout the year. So that might be different from someone that just shops at this time of year. So I think for us to have a system of it being something that's throughout the year, which we already kind of do, we just need to revisit that discussion.
There's a handful of people who do that, and we never actually suggested that to anybody. They just started doing it, and we saw them doing it, so now we've been sharing that idea with other people.
I think it does make a big difference when you get to see like what happens with that money. Being in the office, I get to see it. I recently had somebody come and ask for help with gas, and she kept saying like, "I'll pay you back. I'll come on Friday when I get paid." And I'm like, this money in our budget is specifically for this. Yeah. We don't want you to pay us back because we want to help you, and we care about you.
There's two kind of things that we've kind of become known for. One is because we're right next door to a gas station that we build a lot of relationship with. We do have people on a pretty regular basis stopping by and asking, you know, my check comes in, I need gas to get to work for the next 2 days. And so we go and fill up, well, we usually put about $20 or so in their tank. But we also hand out a lot of free bus tickets, 10 pass rides, as something, you know, that somebody who doesn't have a vehicle. And those two things, I mean, they can seem small, but if you're on the receiving end, they're huge. They're huge. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, Mark and I have just a little bit left to wrap up this message, so let's go back for one brief segment back to our living room.
This is all part of one handful living, life to the full living.
Yeah.
And it comes from throwing out, it comes from buying less, and it comes from giving more.
So for this Christmas, Mark, we want people to have less of what doesn't matter and more of what does matter. Let me say that again. Less of what doesn't matter and more of what does matter.
That's so important for us. So here's some tough questions to close with. Is your Christmas about accumulating stuff here on earth that you can lose? Or is your Christmas about accumulating treasure in heaven that you can't lose?
Yeah.
Traveling light, it's going to involve some throwing out. It's going to involve some really spending and getting less, and it's going to involve some giving away more. But we don't want your life to be defined by stuff that holds you back.
This Christmas, we're traveling light, and this is what we want you to hear. We are letting go of stuff.
And why are we doing that, Tom?
Because it's better to have less of what doesn't matter and more of what does matter.
We're going to close with our scripture from Ecclesiastes. Will you read this at home along with me? Better one handful with tranquility than 2 handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind.
Hey, say that again with me. Better one handful with tranquility than 2 handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Better one handful with what?
Tranquility.
Than 2 handfuls of what?
Toil and chasing after the wind.
Hey, let's do that one more time, the whole thing. Better one handful with tranquility than 2 handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. All right, you got that in your spirit, in your soul, kicking off the Christmas season this December. Now you just need to not just be a hearer of the Word of God, but a doer now in this month, however you're going to follow that. And I think one of the ways we don't do that alone, that's the benefit of community. If anything, over these last 2 years, we've learned just how important community is to live into our values. And we would love to connect with you this week, not just here on a Sunday morning, and here's how you can do that.
Unpack what you don't need, gain what you really do, and connect with us this Christmas. You want to have more authentic, real friendships and relationships this holiday season. Head to sycamorecreekchurch.org/connect. Take the first step to connect by scanning the QR code on your screen now, or head to sycamorecreekchurch.org/connect. Fill out that connection card and grow with us. Get a free book, a resource for you. You'll Get Through This by Max Lucado. As a first-time guest filling out that connection card, we'll send that right to your door. Connect in the online community by taking a selfie with your Christmas activities, Christmas decorations, all things Christmas. Grow your community. Take a picture of your Christmas, your decorations, your worship, your gingerbread house, and hashtag SCCMI on Facebook and Instagram. We're not even remotely picky. It doesn't even have to be a selfie, but we want to see you and what you're up to this Christmas. Let's grow our community online and in person together. Every year at Sycamore Creek, we plan to celebrate Christmas differently. We plan to give away as much as we spend on Christmas. When you take the Christmas Offering Challenge, you celebrate Christmas differently and participate in mission in our local community and the world. We've outdone ourselves every year with this challenge, celebrating Christmas differently, celebrating Jesus' birthday by giving away as much as you spend on Christmas. We're creating a baggage claim. Yeah, that's emotional baggage, but also like your literal suitcase. Bring in your baggage and your luggage for the Travel Light series throughout December. Christmas made simple. No drama, no planning, you just show up. And it's wonderful. We've got events all throughout December and into January for you to celebrate Christmas at an easy pace. Get your Christmas on next week at the Peppermint Creek Theater Company All Is Calm musical, although word on the street is it's sold out. Or attend caroling Sunday, December 19th and Monday, December 20th. You'd rather eat hot wings? Dress warm for Guys in a Garage Hot Wings Christmas on December 21st. And come in costume for the family Christmas at Wildemore Nature Center. And we mean any costume. Take it down a notch and worship with us with the Candlelight Christmas Eve services on Friday, December 24th. And finish with fun with free Birchfield tubing on Sunday, January 9th. There's no drama, there's no planning, you just show up. And it's wonderful. This Christmas made simple. All set on that connection card, right? Hit submit, all good? Download Sycamore Creek's app to continue the connection. You can give through the app, listen to sermons online, read your Bible, all right from your phone. Just search SCCMI on any mobile device to find us on the app. Not interested in the app but still want to give online? Head to sycamorecreekchurch.org/give or scan the QR code on your screen now and you'll have options there too. Let's take it back to the studio to continue celebrating all the things that your giving makes possible.
So last year, our Christmas offering brought in over $32,000, which we've just been giving that away over this last year. And between that and just people's normal giving, we were able to do this gingerbread house event this past week. Boy, that was a blast to see that. And then especially the next day, just to see my news feed full of pictures of families that I just haven't seen nearly as much as I would have liked to.
And supporting local Lansing business.
Yes, absolutely.
And awesome.
We also, this last week, your giving's helping us do Letter from Birmingham Jail as a children and youth theater this year. We're partnering with Hope Central Urban Arts, Anna Maria Horn, and we had auditions, 2 dates of auditions this past week where people from the community came and auditioned. Both of my kids auditioned, and this is going to happen on MLK weekend of next year. This is Mike and Sam's first public theater event ever.
Yeah, and look at that Kids Creek space.
Yeah.
And how awesome that was. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you don't show up, I will take it as a personal affront that you don't like my children. All right. Not really. No. Hey, what's your favorite Christmas song that nobody else likes? All right, this isn't one of them, but this was actually, we were going to open with this, but it just didn't quite fit the mood at the beginning of the service. So here's Tim with God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen to the tune of Jazz.
Love it.
Wow. I don't know what that was like online, but in the studio, that was just absolutely wonderful.
Thank you, Tim. Wonderful.
So before the service started, we learned that this was an OK Boomer meme. Because it's old. Napoleon Dynamite, Sarah's old, I was told.
Apparently.
So
That's true.
I don't know that people necessarily dislike this song, but the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies, you kind of have a love-hate relationship with that because we have a playlist in our house, and whenever that comes on, one year you sort of pirouetted around like a ballerina. And now, guess what she has to do?
Every time.
Whenever that song comes on.
All three Arthur men are like, come on, Mom, what's going on? Like, you're supposed to be dancing right now.
Yeah. So we love it. You used to love it.
You ruined it for her.
Yeah. How about you?
Oh, I love the Italian, or I think it's Italian, might be Portuguese, I'm not sure. Rio Chio?
Yes.
I love it. A cappella.
It's one of those choir
So people don't like that?
Like Tim, I have no idea what it means. It's just lovely. It's just lovely.
Yeah.
Medieval carol.
It's a good one. So there, I shared online that
Gretchen, you're really going to go there?
I'm going to go there. I have really
really
strong feelings about the debate about Baby It's Cold Outside.
How long has this been going on?
I mean, I literally talk about it every year. Carol is probably tired of hearing my opinions
I've read
about
so
it.
many articles at this point.
But Lydia and Tara agreed with me that they like it also. And then Tara didn't follow the rules. She said what she doesn't like. Tara can't stand Last Christmas, and her husband Kyle can't stand Wonderful Christmas Time.
Yeah, I feel like asking me what Christmas song I don't like is probably like an easier answer than what's my favorite song that no one else likes.
See, I like a lot of
love
stuff that
all
people
we're
don't
trying
like.
to get at everybody's little eccentricities here.
Yeah,
like,
well,
what's the
okay,
song that you love that everybody's like, please,
I mean, I like
Carol, stop.
the like Elvis
Blue Christmas.
Blue Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an uplifting song for the season. Get you
I
in
like
the mood.
it. Okay, my dad and I
you know
used to watch
what?
Elvis movies at Christmas. Okay.
So listen,
Christmas isn't always happy for everybody.
That's true.
That's certainly
I like a lot of things that people don't like. The other song I love that I don't think anybody else really likes it is I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas.
That song is
Yes, somebody likes it.
like
yes.
you've heard of someone an eyesore, but it's an ear sore. You know,
It's
and you're just like, oh.
I love it.
What was the song again?
I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas.
I don't think I've ever heard that.
Just
I
let
could-
it lie right there. Just
Yeah.
Okay.
let it-
We won't ask you to sing it.
Okay.
Well, friends, we are so grateful that you have joined us for this worship episode today. Next week, we'll be back with episode 2 of Travel Light. We're going to let go of distractions. So don't be distracted and miss next week. Matthew Ryan Klaus is going to be our musician next week.
Yes.
And by the way, a little trivia piece. Matthew's version of Mary Did You Know is our most viral music video on our YouTube page. So you get to hear him next week lead us in some Christmas carols. So make sure you're here for that. Until next week, friends, travel light and peace out.